This is part 3 of a 3-part series. Links to part 1 and part 2 are in this video's description. Today, in part 3 of a 3-part video series, I will share 19 items from my thorough list of 57 autistic characteristics and traits, including alone time, emotional struggles I battle through and live with, and what helps comfort me, aka keeps me regulated. Let's get started. Hey, Define Yourselfer, I am Chris Mitchell from theconfidentautistic.com. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I sincerely appreciate you checking out my videos. Now, I am an autistic adult, late diagnosed, an advocate for autistic adults, and a digital creator empowering other autistic adults and the rest of the world to embrace autism. Now, if that resonates with you, please consider subscribing to this channel. And when you do subscribe, do not forget to ring the bell to be notified of new videos and when I go live. In part 1 of this video series, I shared why you should create your own list of autistic traits, along with many of my stems, sensory sensitivities, and more. In part 2 of this video series, I shared many aspects of my social anxiety and more. I often feel a lot younger than my age. Now, I mentioned I usually have friends and people I hang out with that are younger than me. There's one exception to that, and she's going to kill me. But my wife is a little bit older than me. But normally, I'm around people who are younger than me. My wife's probably the only person that I'm close to that's older than me. But I often feel younger than my age. You hear that Peter Pan syndrome, the boy that never grows up. At times, I felt that way in my life. I felt like, I'm in my 50s, okay? And I still feel like I'm in my 20s and 30s. Now, my body reminds me I'm not, but I just feel the same way, and I do not help the situation. I'll tell you honestly, I don't, because I love listening to '80s music. Because in the '80s, I was in my 20s, so I mean, I do that, and I watch old TV shows and movies from the '80s. I'm stuck in the '80s, so that probably does not help me, but it does make me feel I do feel younger than my age. I look at me, I look at my dad when my dad was my age, and I think my dad was old at this age. I'm not that old. I'm still youthful. I still have energy. I still have fun. My dad did not always have a lot of fun. Sarcasm. Sarcasm is a double-edged sword for me. First, I am great at being sarcastic, okay? My wife got me a t-shirt and it says sarcasm, just one of my many talents, and I can be very sarcastic. That goes along with being blunt and why people think I'm British. I don't get sarcasm. Now, if it's on TV, I can say, oh, yeah, he's being sarcastic. In real life, I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, I watched The Big Bang Theory, and I know they did this in The Big Bang Theory. I wish people would do this for me in real life. When you're sarcastic around me, feel free to go bazinga to let me know. I was at I did a book shoot. I've written 3 self-published books. One of them is called "It Doesn't Define Me." It's a story of how I survived an ischemic stroke to my spinal cord and fought to get my life back. Wonderful book. I'll put a link to it in the video description. And we went to the park in this area where I live, and we took some nice pictures of me out on my scooter near the waterfall. It's beautiful pictures. So I got the book done. I got the cover done. I brought book to a meeting, a Toastmasters meeting, and one of the people at the Toastmasters meeting worked for the city that we live in. And I showed him the book, and he said to me, "You owe the city some royalties for that, for taking pictures at the park and using it on your cover." I, to this day, still do not know if he was being sarcastic and kidding with me or if he was serious. I was afraid to ask. I prefer to be alone most of the time more than being around other people. My alone time got to a point which I'm comfortable with, but my parents did not know I was autistic or understood this. So my dad, it really bothered him that I spent most of my time in my room alone. And so one day I was coming downstairs and he stood up and he extended his hand and he said, "Hi, I'm Mr. Mitchell. Nice to meet you." And introducing himself to me as if I was a stranger he had not met or seen in a long time. And he had came into my room once and he did this not only in my room, but he did it around the house for a while. He kept calling me a hermit. That was very hurtful, but I guess in a way it's true. Not really a hermit. I'm more reclusive. I like being alone and I'm more comfortable that way. Less anxiety, less social interaction. I'm good with that. Now, whether I'm alone or not, but sometimes I go to be alone to deal with this, I experience strong emotions. I think some of my emotions are stronger than the Aulistics are, but I do experience strong emotions. I can and I have cried and not understood why I was crying. I often have trouble identifying my emotions and feelings. I could be having an emotion, I could be having a feeling, and it's strong, but I can't tell you exactly how to put into words what it is. I just can't find the words. And when I can identify my emotions and feelings, I often have trouble expressing them to other people. I think part of that is a fear of being judged and being different because some of these I think are more autistic than holistic, and I just get really cautious about sharing it and more reclusive and using a turtle analogy, more withdrawn into my shell. I am fascinated by public transportation, especially buses. And I've always been fascinated by public transportation, especially buses. I love the design and shape of them and how they're all um, there's a pattern. They all have the same designs in a time. They all have the same logos and branding. It's kind of cool. I love that. I love branding. And what I love about public transportation is bus schedules because that's a pattern. That's a plan. It's organized. I love that. I like collecting things. As a kid, some of the things I collected that are a little bit out of the ordinary. Well, a lot of kids back in my day collected baseball cards. That's not out of the ordinary. But I also collected TV guides. Not just my local TV guide. I wanted TV guides from other markets. In fact, one of my very good friends, he and his family went to Greece. His mom is Greek. I think his grandma, which in Greece they call Yaya, was born in Greece, and his mom was born in America. I'm not sure. Anyway, they went to Greece because that's part of their family culture. And they brought me back a Greek TV guide. Couldn't read a word in it, but I had a Greek TV guide for a while. I loved it. It was amazing. And I do collect TV guides. And anything else I collect. I like to collect. This is not all that odd, but I like to collect DVDs and stuff like that. Now, when I was younger and I had a VCR and I had cassette recorders and all, I would record shows. And one, I wanted to get every show. Like I would figure out and try to catch every episode of MASH and get them on videotape or whatever shows that I was into. And those are some of the things I like to collect. I also like to collect school buses actually. It started with school buses. Now I like to get the toy buses that are replicas of public transportation buses. Love those things. I collect those. And if you look around this office here, I also collect stuffed animals. And that kind of started from when I was a kid. I mentioned I was born with CRS, congenital rubella syndrome. Well, also one of the side effects of that was I had a constricted aorta. So I had a lot of surgeries. So it became a tradition in my family. Whenever I went in the hospital for surgery, I got a stuffed animal. And I continue that tradition today, not going into the hospital, but collecting stuffed animals. And my favorites are pandas. Do I have my panda here? Yeah, here's my panda. This is my little baby panda. I have three of these. No, I have four. I have four of these pandas, different sizes throughout the house. And that started from when I was living in Northern California in this young, well, she was a girl at the time. She was like 21, college student. And she moved into the apartment across from me. And I was madly in love. Love at first sight. If you ever had that, I had love at first sight. And about 2 months after she lived across the way from me, I got up the nerve and told her how I thought about her. And I wanted to go out on a date with her and all. And she was so nice. She turned me down. Yeah, that does not sound nice, but it was because she turned me down and she gave me, yeah, I don't know, about 2, 3 foot tall stuffed panda of hers named Rara. And that got me addicted to collecting panda stuff. I'm also comforted by having stuffed animals around me. I mentioned I collect stuffed animals. You won't see them all on camera, but I have my panda I showed you a moment ago. Back in the corner over there, that big blue mass that you see, that's actually a Grover from the 1970s, as from Sesame Street. I have off camera here on top of my second monitor a golden lab. I love golden labs, and because he kind of looks down, looks at me and kind of looks down from this monitor. I named him Peekaboo. So I have Peekaboo, and all my stuffed animals, practically all of them, have names. I haven't named the panda yet. Got to work on that. Anyway, so I'm comforted by having stuffed animals around me. I like things being organized. So with my collections, I like things organized. My TV Guide collection had to be in chronological order. Had to be. My DVD library must be in chronological order. My CDs had to be in alphabetical order. DVD library, I'm sorry, it should be in alphabetical order. Cassette tapes, alphabetical order. Albums, alphabetical order. Everything has to be organized for me. I keep my buses in a nice organized line. I keep them in my Matchbox collection. The Matchbox cars, right? I get this little box, keeps all my cars in them. They have little slots for each car. I put all my buses in one box, all my police cars in another. So they're all organized. They had spaces, assigned spaces they had to be in when I put them away. I wanted to work in radio. Now that's not that neurotypicals can do that too. But the reason I wanted to work in radio is neurodiverse because of how structured and predictable it is. Now, radio stations, if the talk radio, top of the hour, 5 minute newscast, then local news, then the talk, then a commercial break at 10 after, 20 after, 30, 40, 50. And then if you had top 40 stations, you had a commercial break at about 20 after the hour, 35 after the hour, 50 after the hour. At a certain time of the hour, you play a new song, something that's coming on the charts in the top 40. And another part of the hour, you play a old song, a former top 40 hit, whatever. It was predictable. I knew what's going to happen and when it was going to happen. I loved that. And I wanted to work in radio because that gave me the predictability and stability I needed. I am comforted by patterns. Because patterns mean predictability, and predictability goes along with routines, which we autistics like. I'm a person who likes routines, but I struggle with creating and maintaining them, and I think that comes from my ADHD side. But I'm very comforted by patterns. They're soothing, they're predictable. I do not like randomness. I don't like things that are random. Random colors, random patterns, random numbers, nothing random. Don't like randomness at all. It's got to have a logic, it's got to have a pattern to it. And if something appears random, I will try to find a pattern in it so I can feel comfortable. And if I can't, I just get all miscaboobulated. I do not like a lot of colors together, especially the unorganized, like, all over the place for design. Now, I don't mind looking at a kaleidoscope and seeing the colors change, but stained glass windows at churches, which many people find beautiful, I'm not knocking them. They just was way too much for me, and there was no pattern or conformity to it. It's like random at times in some of the windows. Now, I'm not talking about ones that maybe have a glass image of the Virgin Mary, baby Jesus, whatever. I'm just talking about them. Let's just grab 10 different pieces of glass, the different colors, different shapes, and try to fit them into the square. Those drive me batty, okay? However, although I don't like a lot of colors together, I like combinations of colors that maybe one, two, maybe three in an image. Okay, no more than three, otherwise it gets overwhelming for me. And the color blue is very soothing to me. Now, I do not like change. Okay, that's a big thing. Do not make change because if the change comes up, I overreact. I get very verbally combative, stubborn, whatever. It's not a good scene. Now, I also hate needles. I'm definitely afraid of them. Okay, I'm really bad. I can now do a blood draw from my arm if they use a butterfly needle. But if you want to give me a shot, okay, that's a little bit riskier, but I can most of the time do that. My primary care physician nurse is terrified of me because she knows I'm afraid of needles. Okay. Now, if you want to start an IV, that's a trip. Okay, that's horrible. That usually results in me having a meltdown or shutdown. And if you're going to get it, you get one shot with me. Only one try. If you don't get it in, forget it. I'm out. I'm gone. And two, it usually requires having the PICC line nurse come and do it because they're gentler. Now, where I live, and where my insurance covers, is a local hospital that I used to volunteer at. So two of the PICC line nurses I personally know, and one of them is a friend of mine on Facebook. So if they are called to be PICC line nurse for me, that person and I just have a friendly conversation, and that distracts me enough that I can pretty much get it done without embarrassing myself too much. I feel as if I created my own safe world to live in. So I will when I am kind of anxious, stressed out, and I'm alone, I like to just kind of create my own world. I mean, I have created my own world where I was a morning DJ of a radio station, program director of a radio station, created my own TV station and made up my own TV schedules. And I do this all the time in my mind and all. And it's my safe little world where I can live in, where I can stem or be whoever I want. Look for links to part 1 and part 2 of this video series in this video's description. Now it is your turn. Let me know what items on this list resonate with you, and if there's a topic you would like to have me cover on a future video, share that as well. You can do that by participating in the conversation in our Facebook group, Autistic Adults Embracing Autism, or by commenting right here in this video. So until next time, I'm Chris Mitchell, the Confident Autistic, reminding you that now is the time for you to embrace your autism.